Next one, having a firewall but no encryption. This one I had to actually think about a little bit here, but the notion here is that we used to think of the firewall as separating the enterprise, the outside, from the inside. It's not enough anymore, and you have to accept the fact that somebody that if they're trying to get to your data, they're going to penetrate your enterprise. They're going to send phishing emails and get to access to somebody's internal machine or something like that. And so the argument here is that you really need to be protecting the data. I think it's, again, similar to what we were just talking about in terms of segregation, protecting your data at rest, using encryption to do that. That's the argument. I tend to agree. I think it's basically facilitating what we described in number 2.
Well, I think it's an interesting perspective. These are the top 5 or 6 holes you've got in your strategy. They mention in terms of network defense is firewalls. I mean, I thought we've moved. I would have said things like IDS or proxies or any sort of
WAFs.
Or WAFs. There's
Yeah.
there's a million other things you could be putting out there, and I think just saying having the firewall and no encryption is completely missing a whole segment of the things you should also be doing.
That's possibly true. I guess in their defense, this is a sort of a article about this long,
Okay.
and I think intended to be something you could get some quick sound bites to get thinking in your mind. We're going into a little more depth here. Your point is exactly right, but perhaps firewall is implying something more at the enterprise edge and not just depending on the enterprise edge. Talking about you got to do something about the soft GUI center too.
That's fair.
Yeah, how many of the breaches in the last few years, all the exposed credit card data was because all the stuff was sitting unencrypted in the database. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing I think you're driving at here is.
Yeah, you're right, Jim. And I guess to your, just to elaborate on this just a little bit more, you have to be careful with encryption too. And I think you had cited Steve Bellovin's blog. He had a blog on the topic of encryption as well, whereas, if the encryption isn't implemented to protect against a particular threat, that is, if the operating system isn't locked down as well, I think was his primary point, you're not really going to do anything by encrypting the data. That is, there's some way to access the data, to decrypt that data. If the attackers have access to that method, they're still going to get to the data. So the encryption only protects you in the context that you actually put the protection methods around that. So it's a subtlety that actually needs to be thought about in the process of applying encryption.